afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Sorry if I sound a little bit out of breath. I haven't danced like that for a very long time, so thank you to Jonathan for helping us out today. Hope you're all enjoying this fabulous day of lectures so far. I know I've listened to some of the lectures and I find it very inspiring to listen rather than to do. Okay, so today, Heyzell and I were discussing what to talk about in today's lecture. The title of today's lecture is Dynamic Influence. So, of course, with this subject, there are many things that we could talk about with you today. But in 30 minutes, we've had to narrow it down to a couple of points that we strongly believe in. First of all, being weight. Second of all, being shape. We feel these two things really help to produce a dynamic performance for the couples today. So Heyzell is going to talk about the weight in a little bit more detail, and then later on I will talk a little bit more detail about the shape and how these things can make you more dynamic. Okay, so I'll leave you in the hands of Heyzell, and I'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Gosh. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you all well? Good. Well, I have to say I haven't danced that much in such a long time. So my subject today is, as Lynn was saying, about weight. Now, the title is Dynamic Influence, which I think was a really cracking title. Whoever came up with that one, really well thought of. So, of course, dynamics. We all know what dynamics mean in a positive way. So, energy, high-spirited, active, all of those lovely positive words. But, of course, it can also have a negative meaning. It means of aggression. But we're going to stick with the positives today. Now, of course, influence. That meaning the effect. So dynamic influence, for me, the meaning is what the effect of dynamics within dance. Now, I remember when I used to dance, long time ago, and I used to feel I was quite dynamic. Very dynamic in such. So, for example, I was watching through a video, last week of myself dancing quickstep. And in relation to, for example, today's generation, it looked like I was walking around the floor. So, what I would like to talk about today are legs and feet, and how we can create dynamics by using the bass, and how that can also influence the rest of the body. So starting with that are the feet. Now I'm all nice and warmed up. Now Graham, for example, was saying so eloquently about, again, the posture and where your weight is over the feet and making sure you do not grip your feet. Absolutely, very much so. So same in ballroom. So, for example, if I'm standing on the balls of the feet, I want to feel that my toes can wiggle and not grip onto them, because if I do so, the ankle is going to be extremely tight and the tension goes up all the way through my legs. So we want to have a feeling of the feet are free to actually move. The ankles are strong, but the feet are ready to be worked. Now, what I would like to do first is just demonstrate that with the lovely Jonathan Wilkins one more time, but we're going to do this piece without using angles. So very technically based and beautiful, but we're going to compare the two. Without music. So it's all very well contained. It is beautiful until I make a mistake. And then into the promenade. Thank you very much. So again, lovely, very together. You can see, though, however, the weight is not being able to flow. So we're going to do that one more time. And I'm going to be using, again, angles through the legs and feet and then describe that a little bit further, but just to demonstrate that one more time with more angle. So working the inside and the outside edges of the feet and legs. So, thank you very much. Now, hopefully, you can see a slight difference between the two. So, when we're talking about the feet and legs, again, my teachers used to be on at us all the time about working the inside and the outside edges. And at that time, I didn't feel I understood it until now, when I teach it now with my pupils, how important it is to work the different angles. So, for example, coming into, for example, a natural turn, very clear example of that for the men is as I'm driving forward here, when I want to swing forward and past, instead of course, going straight to the side and close, but at this point here, I'm going to go from the outside of my foot through to the middle and then go to the inside edge of the foot to create the same effect. Now, for example, in today's dancing, and I've heard this before, if you imagine, for example, you have two triangles, so one from your center up to around the head, and one triangle from your center out to the feet. Now, not always that triangle in the base is so big. That triangle can be slightly smaller. But this triangle is going to support the top of the body. So again, at this stage here, as I'm driving forward and I'm swinging, so I'm pushing back through the foot to the inside edge, I want to support this triangle that is in the body. So by working, as say, the inside edge through to the top of the feet, I can support that triangle. If I do not have that angle at this stage, I will fly past. And I'm sure no one has ever felt that before in their dancing. I certainly did when I was warming up outside. So the same thing happens for the girl. As I'm driving through to this point, you can see I'm pointing my foot inside edge of my right leg, and I'm using the inside edge of the toe of my left foot, and I'm pushing back into the floor to support this triangle up there. You didn't see that little adjustment of weight at the end there. But at the same time, if I were to create, again, the same point, but not to use that inside edge, I will turn and I can comfortably close. But you can see, again, the dynamic influence has been lost at that stage there. Now, coming into the next part, the running spin for the girls. As I'm coming forward at the end of the natural turn, anytime I'm driving forward at this stage. Now again, girls, we want to create that drive and swing to go past the man. But at this stage here, I tend to see a great deal. If I can just borrow Jonathan one more time, please. At the end of the natural turn, girls are told, move forward, drive forward. But at this stage here, if everything turns, I go straight into the man's spine. We always want to feel within those triangles, we are working diagonally through the man and past the man, not at the man's spine. So when I do that, thank you very much, Jonathan. At this point here, girls, when I'm coming forward, of course, I must flex my knees, allow the joints to work. But at this point here, wherever your foot is facing, that knee wants to stay in line with that foot. Because as soon as you twist, say, the hip or the knee off the foot, we then fly past. At this point, we want to drive. So as I flex through the standing leg, you can see that my other leg is responding to that. And as I drive forward, the right leg will catch my weight, but not turn. Can you see how my foot just overturns? I'm going to go into negative space. So again, I'm using foot pressure to the floor. The free leg is flexing, ready to catch my weight. And as I drive forward and I push my left leg back into the floor, I'm catching my weight, but as you can see, I'm not trying to go past my leg. I'm always feeling that my weight is working between my legs to move onto the next leg, and not feel that my weight falls past the leg, because of course that's when the tension within the feet actually occur. So that's a little bit to talking about, again, the inside and outside edges. One other position that's quite clear for that is, for example, the side lock for the girls coming forward here. So as I'm driving forward here, I'm now thinking not so much about rotation, because again, it's beautiful, but we tend to turn off the man at this stage. But as I'm coming forward to here, think about the inside of that foot. So it's almost feeling like you're working the outside circle to come to that point, rather than taking a shortcut straight on the foot to actually collect. Now, so that's a little bit about the inside and the outside edges of the feet. We do work to the inside edges. We just have to be a little bit careful about working to the outside edge of the foot, because of course we don't want to look all pigeon-toed when we're doing that. So the ankles are nice and strong. When we go to the feeling of going towards the outside edge, just make sure, everyone, that your knees are supporting that action, and not that the knee actually flies past the foot to, like a cowboy on a horse, like so. Now, from that position there, talking about lovely legs. Now, again, they're a little bit tired right now, but for me, I like to think of a three-dimensional body. So meaning, again, within my legs, the front of my legs, the sides, and the backs. Not just the fronts, or not just the backs, but working all four sides of those legs. So for example, when I'm coming forward here and I'm driving forward, of course I can do it again, very clear and in a straight line, pushing back into the floor, knee of this moving leg picking up to drive forward. Now at this stage here, you can see every side of my leg is balanced. Now, if I want to create angle, I take the outside and the inside of my thigh, of both legs, and I were to stretch the inside of my thigh and continue working that inside of my thigh, hopefully you can see the effect it has within my body. And again, one more time, as I drive forward, if I were to create and keep that straight, and just do it from the body, you can see the rotation is very different. One more time and do it clearly. Forward, work in the inside of my thighs. You can see now that I can actually continue the stretch to go through. Okay, so this is with forward and backward actions, very much the same action coming through. So again, Jonathan, may I just borrow you? So we do a natural turn in open position. So as I'm going back to here, again, girls, I'm keeping the knee forward. I'm stretching through the inside thigh to work backwards. And then I'm working to the inside edges of my feet to come through. So hopefully you can see the triangle effect that it has within the body. Just one more time. And inside of the foot to come through. Ooh, balance was pretty good there, well done. Trust me, that's a good thing. Doesn't happen very often. If I do it one more time, but I have no angle through the legs, you can see the difference it has and how much I turn off the man when I do so. Okay, now, thank you very much, Jonathan, that was beautiful. Thank you for helping my balance. At this stage here, I would now like to, it's very quick, I know the time goes very quickly, but I would now like to hand over to Lynn, where she will continue working that energy through the rest of the body. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Hazel. That was great. So if we're talking about dynamics, and as I said earlier, my job in this lecture is to talk about the body shape, the shapes that we create through the body. And I'm going to actually narrow that down into 3 points. 1 being rotation, 2 being sway, 3 being stretch. So there are many different aspects that we can use, but those are the 3 important ones for me, and when I'm teaching, that's how I can feel I can get the most results. So a lot of the time you see some couples, they try to do body shape in the wrong way. So they start to break sides, they start to do it in a very artificial way. So hopefully today I can explain, a little bit more about how to do it in what I think is the correct way. Okay. If we talk about like forward and backward actions, as Hazel was saying, once you actually take through an angle through the leg, how do we then develop that through the body is through rotation. So it's not that we're just trying to do it through the legs and then nothing happens at the top. So if I want to make it more dynamic through the top, I need to actually put in that rotation as well to give me a full aspect of what that dynamic is I'm trying to create. So you can either create the dynamic through a shift of weight, or you can create the dynamic in the shape that we produce. Okay, so if I do a backward action, it's the same thing again. I'm trying to work the angle through the legs, as Hazel was explaining, and then I'm trying to work the angle through the top. So this can actually invite the man, or it can actually drive the man if you're going forwards as well. So I'm just going to show you a couple of steps or a couple of examples of what rotation can look like with or without. So I'd just like to invite Jonathan back. So I'm just going to show you a running spin turn. So without rotation, yes, I'm still going to turn. I'm still going to turn through the feet. But as you can see, it's a very structured, very calm. It's not very dynamic. And the dynamic influence that I want is an energy. So dynamics are how much energy we put into something. So if this for me feels like there's no energy gone into it. So therefore, the person looking at that will think, well, it's nice, but they don't actually get that dynamic feeling. So if I show you that again, and I'm really going to try to put in the rotation. Thank you. So hopefully you can see that dynamic through that rotation is giving it a lot more speed, and it's giving it generally more energy. Okay? Jonathan, sorry, if you can stay with me. I need you. So if we're talking about it on a reverse action, so I'm just talking through our little amalgamation that we did earlier. If we did that reverse check, Now, some people will think, okay, I'll just do a shape. But what's actually happening in the body? We need an action in the body to help that step. So it will be, so here you can see the action in the body is a rotation. Thank you. So, and the range of that motion, it depends on how much flexibility you have, or how much you want to put in that. So I know when I was competing, I used to make that quite an important point that I used to practice a lot, was how much range of motion can I actually get into my body to get the energy across to somebody else. So if I show you that reverse check again with not so much rotation, hopefully you can see the difference between the two. That one is much more dynamic than the other. Okay, now the second point I'd like to talk about is the sway. So most of the shapes and that we create are either done through that rotation or through the sway that we create. So, for example, if I did a running side lock, so a running side lock, this has got like a sway aspect to it. Yeah, so if it's just got rotation, again, it's not going to show you the right shape that you want to create. Okay, so if I produce that sway, 1, so here's the rotation, and then I want the shape and the sway to go on top of that. Yeah, if I did a right lunge, that's the same thing again. So this is, it's got rotation and it's got sway. Yeah, so this is like real actions. They're not artificial. So I'm not just thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to just throw my head back into a space. Yeah, so the amount of times that I see that on a daily basis is quite a lot. Yeah, so it's trying to find that range of motion through that rib cage, through rotation, and then, of course, through sway. Okay, so if I just show you, again, the running side lock together with Jonathan. So this is without any sway. So, side lock, yeah. So yes, it's still got the quality of the legs and feet, but it's not really giving you that shape that you want to see. Okay, so now I'm going to put in that rotation and the sway. Okay, thank you. Are you all staying with me so far? Can you all see? They're the two actions that make something, in my opinion, dynamic or not. Okay. You know, and it doesn't matter what step that you do. We're always trying to create these two things. And although I'm focusing very much on the ladies today, this is very much focused on the man also. So we're trying to be in harmony together into creating those two actions, the same amount and at the same time to give it harmony. Okay, yeah? You all with me? Okay, now, those two things that I've just said, they're no good unless they're danced into a space. Yeah, so that's, for me, the stretch and the direction of the stretch is the thing that actually makes it all come together and completes it. Yeah, so again, for me, stretch is a very important part of my dancing and always was. That I feel that I'm focusing on stretching to the direction where I'm moving. So rotation and sway have to become like a dynamic balance, not a static balance. So if I have rotation and sway, very much that they're not shifting into a space. Yeah, this can create many problems for the dancer, like broken sides, you know, not really shifting through your feet. So one idea that I like to think of in stretch is that I'm moving my rib cage through my feet. So every time I take a step, the rib cage is stretching to the direction where I'm moving and to the direction where I'm moving. Is that clear? So for me, this is one of the points that dancers miss, is the fact that that rib cage can be lifted and shifted. Yeah, so every aspect of movement, it has to go to that new space. New space. Yeah, to give it that dynamic approach and give it the energy, and most importantly, to give it the flow. Okay, that went really quick. Okay, so I'm just going to pass you over to Heyzell. I hope you can understand all of that I've talked about today, although it was very quick. Thank you for listening. Well done.
So I hope you can take away a few ideas from, of course, from every lecture today. They've all been magnificent. But for me, as a species, I suppose, every species is always evolving. And of course, us as a dancer is a very special kind of species, but we are also evolving. And through the generations, that will continue to be so. So as long as the technical sides and the musical aspects are kept in place, because they work and always will do, you can expand on the energy that you put into your movement, working through the legs, working through the body. That will continue to grow. It is very exciting to see where dancing is going to go next, because I never know how much someone can do. At the moment, I feel everyone's going to their extreme, but there will be more on top of that after So now Lynn and myself would very much like to thank the BDF, as always, for inviting us, and also the committee for accepting the invitation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, audience, as well, for being so attentive. And also we would like to thank, of course, our partner for today, Mr. Jonathan Wilkins. Thank you for being so magnificent. We would just like to finish now, again, with putting all those certain aspects within the dance. We'll dance that with music one more time. We would like to wish all the dancers and everyone here to enjoy Blackpool. It's a magnificent festival. Thank you very much.